welcome back to another showing from the American Thunder Superspeedway Series. Here at Nashville Superspeedway, we are here for race number 7 of 8 in the American Thunder Superspeedway Series. Just 2 races left to go here in the playoffs, here in the season 3 for these guys. Brings us to Nashville Superspeedway. My name is Josh Patterson. I am joined by my co-commentator, Tyler Ryan. We are here on Ignite Sim Racing Network. Tyler, how are we doing today?
Doing fantastic today. I'm really excited for this race. We're down to only 4 playoff drivers left, and then only 2 more races to go for this season. But after the great show that we had last week, I'm really excited for tonight. And Nashville Superspeedway, me being from Tennessee, this is kind of a home track for me. So I'm excited to see this as well.
Absolutely. Going to be some fantastic racing here tonight. Just ending off practice. So Matthew Wood currently at top of the timing boards with a 31.203. Heck of a job from him just in practice here. We're going to get into our qualifying, but before we do, let's take a look at both our season schedule and our point standing. Starting off the season schedule, we started off at Daytona International Speedway for 80 laps around the 2.5 mile World Center of Racing all the way back in late May. Then we headed to Talladega, both of those races taken over by Full Throttle Motorsports. Pocono Raceway followed those 2 races with a fantastic finish, and Auto Club Speedway, with a great race overall, wrapped up our regular season. After that, we started off our playoffs just a couple weeks ago at iRacing Superspeedway. We ran a heck of a long run towards the end of that one. Last week, we saw these drivers go to Atlanta at the Echo Park Speedway, put on another fantastic event there. Now we head to Nashville Superspeedway for 80 laps and 106 miles here tonight. Next week, we will head to Daytona, back to Daytona for our season finale for another 80 laps around that 2.5 mile oval. We'll take a look at our points as well. Bracket style elimination here in the American Thunder Superspeedway Series. Just 2 more eliminations to go here tonight before we get to our final one-on-one championship determiner round in 1 week's time. Currently, Jace LaFord, Joseph Smith on 1 battle, and Quentin Steinbach and Matthew Wood another battle. 2 seed versus the 11 seed and 1 seed versus the 5 seed. All teammates here at Full Throttle Motorsports. Going to put on a show here tonight, just really shown their excellence throughout the season. So yeah, that's been one of the biggest talking points we've seen so far all season, is Full Throttle Motorsports and the way they've been able to dominate the field so far, as Tim April goes to the top of the charts here with 3.5 minutes left of qualifying.
Yeah, you were talking about all 4 of our playoff drivers are teammates at Full Throttle Motorsports. And like you said, we've been talking about all season how dominant that team has been. And really, I think that comes down to their teamwork. Once we see those Full Throttle Motorsports trucks get in a line, we can almost call the race there. They are so good once they get together, working together, and getting all of the trucks to the front of the field to where at least one of them has a shot at winning the race. I just wonder now that it's just the 4 of them in the playoffs. They're guaranteed to win a driver's championship here. Will maybe some of the tactics change a little bit to where we don't see as much teamwork? And that might take a little bit of that edge away from them. And I say that, but of course Matthew Wood did top our timing in practice. So we've got one of our playoff contenders in one of the Full Throttle Motorsports trucks who's obviously very fast here tonight. So just something to watch to where we see if things change up a little bit just from the playoffs playing out the way that they have so far.
Absolutely. I mean, last week we saw almost desperation by Full Throttle Motorsports to get all of their drivers into that next round, into the round we're currently in. Holding off Tim April was Quentin Steinbach at the end of last round at Atlanta, but doing that has definitely taken the pressure off of that team, as they have both secured the top 4 in the championship standings and obviously the championship win. So definitely good to see those guys being able to complete their goals here. But yeah, like you said, it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to work together, or the lack thereof of teamwork in this round. As we see, Matthew Wood goes to the top of the charts once again with a 31.067. Blistering lap time there puts him on the pole.
Yeah, we're already seeing a couple of these championship contenders and a couple of these Full Throttle Motorsports guys a little bit closer to the top of the timesheet, as Jace Lafort, who is not one of our, or I'm sorry, is one of our playoff drivers as well, is in P3 currently, and then Joseph Smith in P5. So the entire front row currently occupied by, the entire inside row is currently occupied by playoff drivers for the first 3 trucks at least.
Yeah, I don't think they could have planned it better than that, honestly.
All 4 of them will start in the inside rows. Quentin Steinbach is in P7.
Yeah, I mean, all 4 of those Full Throttle Motorsports trucks, as we've seen all season, able to work together really well, putting themselves 1, 3, 5, and 7. So, if this was a true super speedway like we typically see at Daytona or Talladega, they would be just about set. And I believe, since they're all working together, they'll be able to help each other out quite a bit here on the start of the race.
Yeah, just a couple seconds here left in qualifying. And one thing I want to note here, like you said, it's a little bit different of a track. It's not your traditional super speedway. So we might see a little bit more spread out field today. We might see those trucks get separated a little bit more because we don't have that standard pack racing. And then, of course, we only have 14 trucks registered for tonight. So a little bit smaller of a field than we're typically used to seeing. So we might see a long green flag run or multiple long green flag runs just because of that combination of a smaller field with a more spread out pack. So hopefully we get some good green flag racing all throughout the night.
Absolutely. These guys are going to be able to put on a show. But let's check out who those will be putting on. Who of those will be putting on that show? Matthew Wood is going to be your pole sitter here tonight. Starts us off in the pole position. To his outside is going to be Jeremy Berger, in a new paint scheme tonight. Very good-looking race car is that 21. Row 2 is going to be our second playoff driver in Jace Lafort, and to his outside is going to be the 3 truck of Tim Abril. Row 3, the inside goes to fellow playoff contender Joseph Smith in the 31, and Chris Lewis in the 111 will sit on his outside. Row 4 is going to be Quentin Steinbach in the 98 and Chris Worrell to his outside. Steinbach, another playoff contender on Full Throttle Motorsports. Randy Cornwell and Tyler Clunan going to wrap out your top 10.
And then starting in P11 on the inside of row 8 is going to be the 11 truck of Brian Kinney, and to his outside is the 53 of Bryson Bird. And then just behind them in row 7, I'm sorry, I called last row 8 is row 6. Row 7 is the 14 truck of Jesse Meyer, and then to his outside is the 22 of Carter Cornwell.
It's going to be your entire starting grid here for this one. Bit of a smaller field than we're usually used to seeing in the American Thunder Super Speedway Series, but does not mean the racing will be any worse. These guys typically tend to put on a show week in, week out, and I look forward to see what they are able to do here at Nashville.
Yeah, what we're seeing here is a little bit of a smaller field, but part of that is due to a lot of people getting eliminated from the playoffs. Not much reason for them to really show up once you're out of the playoffs. I know that's hard to hear sometimes, but a couple of trucks that just not much reason to show up because they're out of the playoffs. So now we're getting to your 4 playoff drivers, and then those guys that know they're going to be in contention for wins, and they're going to show up week in and week out because of that reason. So we only have 14 trucks here, but I do believe that all 14 of them are really contenders for this race, believe it or not. I know that Full Throttle Motorsports domination has been something that we've talked about, but all of these trucks here are very good trucks and should be in contention and will show speed all throughout the race.
Now, speaking of which, I believe we have a newcomer to the league. Carter Cornwell starts at as the caboose of the grid right now, but he is making his inaugural start in the American Thunder Super Speedway Series. So looking to see what he can do in that 22 truck as pace car is going to pull down to pit road. Matthew Wood and Jeremy Berger are going to pull it through the Cornwall barbecue sauce restart zone, and we're going to be racing. Green flag is in the air here at Nashville.
Yeah, you see Wood get a good jump off the line there. Not exactly clear of Berger on his outside, but this track a little bit inside lane dominant. You can get a good run around the top as you see Berger get loose a little bit there on the outside, so he loses that run, and Wood is going to run away and clear as we're 3 wide for second coming into turn 3.
Joseph Smith looks down to the bottom. Not your typical super speedway track. Gonna be having to lift and coast a lot through these corners, but that does not stop Full Throttle Motorsports with Matthew Wood taking a pretty huge lead, almost 0.8 tenths of a second, as they're 3 wide behind him. Jason Lafort in the middle. Jeremy Berger still on the outside. They're making it work. And Joseph Smith though seems to pull out the advantage, and he does. He'll clear up for second place.
Yeah, we've got 6 trucks that are here very tight. From second to about 7th is very, very tight, and then a little bit of a gap behind them in the field, and that's kind of that spreading out that I was talking about pre-race that we're going to see. But a very good fight here at the front of the field, and we've got some tight racing at the front where I think we can expect to see it all night. There's a little bit of contact between Lafort and Averill. That might be a little bit of bad blood from last week, as we saw Lafort really blocking for his teammate Steinbach at the end of last week to keep Averill out of the playoffs. So I don't think Averill's going to give Lafort really an inch here today.
No, I would assume the same as they go 3 wide a little further back for, I believe that is P6, as Chris Lewis looks to the bottom, squeezes them both up high. Jace Lafort and Quentin Steinbach on the outside there. Lewis squeezes them up even more. A lot of contact down the straightaway. Looks like some very aggressive driving at the start of this race. Quentin Steinbach into the outside wall slightly. Will drop back a couple spots, and that is not going to be good for his playoff hopes.
You know, we might be seeing it due to track temperatures here. The sun is shining, so temperatures are up a little bit. But that outside line just not really looking like anybody can feel confident in getting the power down running that outside. Typically, you can carry your momentum a little bit higher in that kind of middle groove and then get a good run off of the corner. But the trucks look so unsteady throughout that second phase of the corner on that middle line that nobody's able to really get a good run. So we're seeing a little bit of bottom dominance here early on. You saw it from Jeremy Berger, who started on the outside row and couldn't really get that run off of turn 2 on the first lap, but now has kind of settled into a groove, and he is kind of running down Smith here a little bit and catching him for P2.
We've got a 3-car battle currently going on. That is for position number 5. Chris Lewis currently holds 5th place, but Jace Lafort and Chris Worrell all over the back bumper of that 111 truck as the 111 gets sideways up in front of Jace Lafort. Lafort's going to look to the bottom here. They're going to be side by side going into turn 3. There's going to be a little more contact there, I believe, and a little more contact. Those two quite aggressive here at the start of this race. But Jace Lafort will get around Chris Lewis and take over that P5 spot. Everyone pretty spaced out at the moment. Now that battle has kind of concluded itself there. A couple truck lengths between each one of these guys at the moment. So a lot of single file racing as of now.
Yeah, a lot of single file racing, but still a lot of tight racing. Is we're going to see Chris Lewis dive back down to the inside, and I don't think these two are really gonna spread out. They seem very even so far today, but I think we're seeing a little bit of what this track can offer in terms of the super speedway aspect of it, as you see the 111 truck kind of get tucked in behind Lafort there, and then got a good run back to his bumper to where he could send it to the inside. I think you're going to see a little bit of that almost draft, or what you call a slipstream, where you can kind of pull yourself back to the bumper of a truck that maybe has a little bit more speed than you throughout the corner. But that is where the size of this track gives you a little bit of that super speedway feel.
Yeah, for sure. And did not get a chance to take a look at the track info, as it was a short pace lap. We'll do that now. We're here at Nashville, Lebanon, USA. We've got a length of just 1.3 miles here. Configuration, they're running the oval, as that's the only configuration on this racetrack. 4 turns at an altitude of 571 feet above sea level. So, yeah, here in Nashville, Really nice racetrack here. Concrete surface is one of his defining qualities. And the smallest track on the schedule this season.
Yeah, it is. It is a smaller track when it comes to super speedways, but that back straightaway is very, very long. And then once you get that car pointed straight coming out of turn 4, it is kind of a tri-oval. It's got that dog leg in the front straightaway, but once you get that car pointed straight off of turn 4, you can get it moving very well going down into turn 1. So we do have longer straightaways here that give it a little bit more speedy of a feel. And then, of course, that concrete is, as I was talking about earlier, that middle lane, just not much grip out there so far. And that's kind of one of the defining characteristics of concrete, I feel, is that instability, and that you're really going to have to search for grip and wait for the racetrack to come to you a little bit. Concrete is definitely a tricky surface to race on.
Absolutely. Joseph Smith looks like the racetrack is coming to him currently, as he has closed the gap on Matthew Wood for the race lead. Just 0.3 between the pair of Full Throttle Motorsports teammates at the front of the field here, in different battles for those final 2 championship spots. So we could very well see these two go head to head next week as Joseph Smith hits the outside wall. Smith currently in front of Lafort and Wood in front of Steinbach. So those are the 2 battles going on. These two both in those battles, but not against each other, at least not quite yet.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the playoff battles kind of determine how these trucks race each other, because in my mind, if you see a truck in front of you that you know is also in the playoffs, you want to get in front of them. But with this format where it's kind of head to head, it'll be interesting to see if Joseph Smith recognizes that his battle is not necessarily with Wood today, and see if that determines how he races him. See if maybe he takes a little bit off of it, doesn't pressure as much as he would if he knew he had to beat Wood today and not next week.
And obviously that's assuming they're both going to win their battles and make it to next week. Obviously, like we mentioned already, Full Throttle Motorsports is going to be your champion. Whether that's Wood, Smith, Lafort, or Steinbach is yet to be determined, but all teammates left in the playoff battles. So you see Jeremy Berger, Tim Averill, that battle starting to get close, just 0.3 between those two, the same distance that's between the race leaders right now, but Averill seeming to gain some time here and there on Jeremy Berger and finding some speed in the racetrack.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, waiting on that track to come to you a little bit. You just kind of have to, you got to let your tires get into a suitable temperature range. You got to let the rubber on the racetrack come in a little bit. That's where that concrete racetrack is so difficult. You got to really have the perfect conditions for your car to work perfectly. And I think we're seeing a couple of these drivers just kind of feeling that out, and they're now getting in a comfortable spot where they're able to just get in a groove and run down some of the trucks in front of them.
For sure. We've got an onboard shot of Tim Averill here, and be able to see that racetrack and how these guys are running different lines. And see how much he's lifting off to get through the corners here. Through 1 and 2, it's a huge lift out of the 3. And we're going to see him do the same here in 3 and 4. You see, with that much of a lift, it's so much different than your typical super speedway, whether that's Daytona, Talladega, iRacing Super Speedway, or any of the like. But not usually doing a whole lot of lifting there, but here at a track like Nashville, you are all the way off the throttle for a good portion of the lap.
Yeah, I think the only track that we've been to so far this season that has anything even similar is Pocono. Pocono, of course, you have to lift just a touch, not really as much as you have to lift here, but it is nothing like tracks like Daytona and Talladega and iRacing Super Speedway, where you're really only lifting so you don't run into the back bumper of the guy in front of you, and not really to make the corner.
Yeah, for sure. Pocono is a weird one. I mean, you gotta lift off a good bit going into turn 1, considering that front stretch is so astronomically long, but nothing like that here, as this is much more of a traditional D-shaped oval. So the driver's going to be dealing with much more similar corners on either end of the racetrack. But Joseph Smith able to make up a good amount of ground here on Matthew Wood. Those two are going to start closing in on each other. Joseph Smith just 1.5 tenths behind, picking up a little bit of that slipstream from the back of the 16 truck. as they're going to not quite get into a battle yet, but I'm sure Matthew Wood is feeling the pressure on his back bumper.
Yeah, Smith got a very good run out of turn 4 last lap, so let's see if he maybe found something here and can set up a similar run coming off the corner here. He's a little bit lower in the racetrack, so that might be a little bit difficult for him, but he is coming for sure, and I think he looks good. It'll just be interesting to see what he does once he actually reaches that back bumper. Is, as you say, catching is one thing, passing is another when it comes to races like these.
Yeah, I mean, that's a saying that is used quite often in racing, and we're seeing it here again. Smith is just about to the back bumper of Wood in the 16. Not able to do anything yet, as it is so hard to generate a pass around a track like this, but able to keep with him for now, and obviously a lot of tire saving involved in a race like this. So these two both looking to save tires and try to make their tires last as long as possible. Smith's going to find trouble as they both hit the outside wall. Smith's going to find trouble with that because he's not in clean air. Loses a good bit of ground to do that wall contact. I guess he got into it slightly more than Wood did, but we've got a three-truck battle for third place that's heating up.
Yeah, we see here Tim Averill and Lafort battling out once again, and like I said earlier, I don't know that we're going to see much room given here by Averill to Lafort after what happened last week. Averill not very happy with the 9 truck, with some of the blocking that was going on in Atlanta last week. So this should be interesting here to see how exactly the 9 plans to get by the 3 is. He sends it in pretty deep there. The 3 is going to hang it around the outside, though, and stay even with him still on that quarter panel, side drafting, and there's a little bit of contact even at the line. These two are racing very hard.
Big contact. Lafort is typically one of our more aggressive drivers. He's going to get turned to the outside wall. Hard contact for Jace Lafort and Tim Averill. That is going to be our first caution of the night. And Lafort, huge damage to the front end of that race truck.
I think the 9 truck is done and out of it. That's smoke coming from under the hood there. I'd say that's an expired engine on the 9 truck. A huge hit once he got turned up into the outside line, or into the outside wall, I'm sorry. I mean, we really saw that brewing for really an entire lap there, as those two, I think, touched in every corner around an entire lap.
And we can see here, they were side by side. A lot of contact between the two. Lafort comes up very abruptly, gets into the side of Averill, gets into him again. I think he missed the corner a little bit. Averill got into him, and a big hit for the 9 truck.
Yeah, the 9 truck not very happy with the 3 here on radio, as I can hear it. Of course, you can't hear it. The 9 truck not very happy, but just in viewing that replay, aside from just locking it down and lifting all the way and locking up the brakes, I don't know that really the 3 truck could have done much here, as the 9 truck just sit it in really hard and made contact with them, and honestly just kind of turned himself across the 3 truck's nose. Unfortunate situation. You can see why they were frustrated with one another the entire time, but a big hit that I think is going to take the 9 truck out of the playoffs here, and an unfortunate moment for Lafort.
Yeah, I will say there was a little bit of net code involved in that incident, as it looked like Lafort got into the side of Averill, and instead of just kind of bouncing off of each other, it more so hooked Lafort than it typically would have if it was a real life contact there. But netcode is something these drivers have to deal with, as internet connections can be tricky, and iRacing sometimes does not predict exactly where those trucks will be. But hard racing between the two of those ends up in one of our playoff drivers' days finished.
Yeah, Lafort was able to get to pit road in a sort of timely manner. I can't imagine that truck's okay with the amount of smoke we were seeing out of the hood, but he had power under the hood, and he was able to get it to pit road under his own power. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe he could get back out on track and just hope that something happens to Joseph Smith here. But from the looks of it, that had to be a day ender for the 9 truck.
Yeah, from my experience on the sim, usually if you blow an engine, especially in these trucks, it's day done. They'll give you the too much damage, we're done message over the iRacing radio there on your screen. So likely day done for LaForte, which means that Joseph Smith is going to be our first driver into the final round in just 1 week's time at Daytona. So, yeah, the 31 of Joseph Smith is going to be competing for a championship next week. Huge news for him. So now that that's done and dusted, he can do what he did last week and try to race for the win here, with really no concerns of what happens to him.
Yeah, and that's something that Matthew Wood doesn't want to see, because now the only driver that really gave him trouble over that first really stint was Joseph Smith, and now Joseph Smith can kind of just throw it all out there and almost do whatever he wants here to lock down this race win. So be interesting to see what the 31 truck decides to do here with the new information that he has.
These drivers are gonna go through the Cornwall barbecue sauce restart zone. Matthew Wood's gonna get a nice launch. We're gonna go back green flag racing here on lap number 27 of 80 here tonight at Nashville. We're gonna get side by side for P2. Jeremy Berger is gonna shoot to the inside of Joseph Smith, going down into turn 1. They're 3 wide in the back. As still side by side, Joseph Smith a little loose on the top lane. And Jeremy Berger's going to try to clear him down into turn 3. Not quite going to make it happen.
Smith was a little bit loose on the outside line, but much better job at holding that truck kind of stable and able to get the power down a little bit more smoothly than we saw Berger on that initial start of the race. So Joseph Smith not losing as much time as Berger did on that initial start, and so you can see we're still almost relatively nose to tail through our top 4, and Wood was not able to get that same launch that he did on the initial start of the race. So still a little bit of pressure under your leader as we go through coming to lap 29.
And it's tough sledding for a guy like the 98 of Quentin Steinbach. He's watching his playoff rival here lead the field, be the dominant truck of this race, as Jeremy Berger does get to his back bumper. But Steinbach currently mired in 6th place, not having the run he was looking for, at least not yet, as they're going to go side by side once again for 2nd place. But, yeah, I mean, if Matthew Wood's able to keep this up, it pretty much means Steinbach is in a must-win situation, because if he doesn't get wrecked, I find it hard to believe that Matthew Wood finishes outside of the top 2 or 3 today.
Yeah, I watched Steinbach a little bit through that first run, and at one point he was back battling for 10th. And he never had a good start on that initial start, and then never really showed any pace throughout that first stint. And so now running 7th, but that's not really due to anything he's done pace-wise. I mean, 2 trucks just got taken out in front of him, and he's moved up 2 spots. So Quentin Steinbach just really not having the speed yet tonight. Might be saving something a little bit here. Of course, they have tire sets, so they've been able to take tires. So I doubt he's been saving tires enough to make that big of a difference. But Steinbach definitely a lot of work to do, a lot to figure out to be able to have really any shot at disrupting Matthew Wood's playoff hopes here.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's got to hope for Joseph Smith to get up there and battle him a little harder than expected, or somebody else for that matter, or maybe a mishap on a restart, because currently it's all Matthew Wood. It seems like it's his race to lose as Smith almost gets into the wall once again. But making up ground on that 16, those two still close at the front. Matthew Wood hasn't quite been able to pull away this run like he did last run. So maybe those fresh tires has kind of evened out the playing field between the top couple trucks here, as it is a 4-truck breakaway with Wood, Smith, Berger, and Chris Worrell sitting in P4 in the 06. So we'll see what they're able to do as this run continues to go on and as those tires continue to wear.
Yeah, I can see in the back of our camera shot there just a little bit entering turn 1. Steinbach trying a little bit of a higher line than everybody else, and it's just not really working there. You can't really fault him for trying something, but it's just if there's not enough grip out there in these trucks to really make that top line, or it's a middle groove, work. And he lost quite a bit of ground to Chris Lewis there in attempting that. So just nothing really working for Steinbach so far today, which is unfortunate for a playoff driver.
You know, race is going by quite quick as we're already almost to halfway. Chris Worrell's going to dive to the inside of Jeremy Berger for a move for P3, but Steinbach already rapidly losing the chances he's going to have, and this time in the hourglass is running out. Still a lot of racing left, 45 laps to go, as Worrell is going to claim that P3 over Jeremy Berger. Berger's going to look back to his inside, not quite going to get there. He's going to decide to file in and wait for another day to send back a move. But Worrell will be up in third, and Steinbach still looking up way in front in his windshield to see his playoff rival.
Yeah, he's really going to have to hope for Joseph Smith to do something unfavorable to his teammate here, I think. Joseph Smith, of course, now really free to race as hard as he needs to get this win. He doesn't have to worry about his playoff battle anymore with the 9 truck being out of action. So that is something that Steinbach can maybe look at with a little bit of hope, is that the 31 truck can throw caution to the wind and do everything in his power to win this race, and that might end poorly for the 16 truck. Of course, we're not hoping for that, but it is something that could play out just with the circumstances that have been created in this race. But yeah, Steinbach really going to have to hope for something like that, as these 2 trucks in first and second, Wood and Smith, are just really the class of the field so far tonight.
I feel almost bad. I'm definitely not trying to give a commentator's curse or jinx Matthew Wood up at the front of the field. Almost more so just discussing the possibilities now, as Steinbach unfortunately does not seem to have quite the speed that the leaders have, and Matthew Wood, being the class of the field, is way up front right now as he's started to pull a gap on Joseph Smith and the rest of the field.
Yeah, I've never been in a situation in the league where I've been in contention for the playoffs, so this might be a good question for you. Do you think that it gives any relief to Steinbach, not having the performance that he likes today, that Matthew Wood is out dominating this field so far? If I was in Steinbach's position, I was like, well, I never had anything to, for him in the first place. He was going to win this race no matter what I did, opposed to if Wood was in the middle of this pack fighting with him. I think it might be a little bit more tough for Steinbach to handle, knowing that he doesn't have the pace, that he just had a touch more, he could have got him, but that's not the case here today.
Yeah, I'm actually going to refer back one season ago. We were at Auto Club, and it was the same round, I believe, if my memory serves correct here. It was Nick Wheeler who came home. I believe it might have been one race prior to that, but it was Nick Wheeler versus Joseph Smith, I believe, for the playoff spot. Nick Wheeler came home 4th. Maybe my memory doesn't serve correct with that, but there was a battle between 2 of the guys who are here tonight, and one of them got 4th out of, I think it was a good 30 truck field. The other one won the race, and if you're running that good and still can't make it into the next round, it's kind of a blow to you. But yeah, Steinbach not having the day he was looking for, 3 seconds back of your race leader and his playoff rival in Matthew Wood. Obviously, I think if I was Steinbach at this point, I'd just hope for some misfortune up at the front of the field and maybe hope to find some more pace down out of that 98 truck as we continue just halfway, 40 laps complete, 40 laps to go. Great time to take a look at our mid-race info, as it is now mid-race. 40 laps complete. We've only had 1 caution. Extremely clean race from these guys so far here in the American Thunder Superspeedway Series. 3 caution laps, 12 trucks remaining in the server. However, only 10 remaining on track, as LaForte, Averill, and Bryson Bird all in the pits, likely with their days finished here tonight. Haven't had a single lead change. Matthew Wood has dominated this one. Average lap time currently sits just under 32 seconds at a 31.85. And Matthew Wood really going to pull up more of a gap here as, Joseph Smith falling off a little bit in lap time, not quite able to hit the same laps as Matthew Wood there at the front of the field, which is just allowed for this gap to grow just over half a second now and growing. Chris Worrell over a second back, and Jeremy Berger seems to be wanting to challenge Chris Worrell. Hasn't fallen off of him as much as I expected him to there, but 21 and 06 is your closest battle on the racetrack.
Yeah, so last run we didn't quite make it to green flag pit stops. We predict that we were about 10 laps short of seeing green flag pit stops. So it'll be interesting to see, and hopefully don't commentators curse this, if we get to green flag pit stops here, if maybe we see a truck like Quentin Steinbach who doesn't have the speed come a little bit early, take advantage of those fresh tires. Maybe if you can get out in front of this field somehow on fresh tires and then almost park the bus is not the correct way to say it, but just defend for your life. I don't think that fresh tires will quite get him that 3 seconds that he needs, but just, at this point, you've really got to throw anything you can out there. So if we get a green flag pit stop, we might be interesting to see if we have a little bit of strategy going on. Joseph Smith for sure could come a little bit early and try to take advantage of clean tires, fresh tires, to get out into clean air.
Battle going on a little further back. Randy Cornwell and Brian Kenny duking it out for 8th, but they have since separated as soon as I went to look at them. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Quentin Steinbach going to be looking for any way he can to shake up this race. As long as we don't get a caution flag, we will certainly be seeing green flag pit stops here. One more stop for these guys to make, so they will have to come down, pit for fuel at the very least, maybe tires as well. Might see somebody like Steinbach come down to pit a bit early, maybe forego the tires to try to hope for a well-timed caution flag, or we just get tires very early to try to perform an undercut on Matthew Wood and the rest of the field. But apparently, those two separated by 6 seconds, so Steinbach's almost out of range to even do something like that.
Yeah, these trucks are probably going to have to take fairly close to full tanks of fuels in order to make it. So I don't know that you'll see them forego tires. They might take 2 to shorten the pit stop up a little bit, but they're going to be waiting on fuel for quite a long time anyways. So it'll be interesting to see where the strategy lies when it comes to taking tires versus not taking tires. But for sure going to take fuel, and we see one truck down at pit road already. That's 20 of Tyler Clunan is coming to pit road. So we might be getting to green flag stops here. We might be seeing the 20 ending his day here. Not exactly sure yet.
Yeah, Tyler Clunan now relegated to P10 now that he's on pit road. I believe he was running 9th before then. Or actually, no, I think he was in 7th in front of Randy Cornwell as those two were battling for 8th. So relinquishes his 7th place spot to go down and pit quite early, as we're going to have side-by-side battle for 2nd place. It's going to be Chris Worrell to the inside of Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith lost a lot of ground very quickly. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. But those two will now be side-by-side. Chris Worrell looking to take advantage of whatever it is that happened to Joseph Smith.
Yeah, so Tyler Clunan did stop for fuel and tires. He did get 4 tires in his stop. So he is now the freshest tires in the track and should be able to make it to the end on fuel if our predictions are correct. So Tyler Clunan may be trying to shake this up a little bit here. We're also seeing the 10 truck of Randy Cornwell down to pit road. So pit stops are happening now. So look out for some of that strategy shakeup happening throughout the field.
Yeah, Chris Worrell was able to gain a ton of ground on Joseph Smith. Jeremy Berger dropped a ton, and he's going to come down pit road too in the 21 truck. So he'll relinquish his 4th place running spot and take some fuel and tires most likely. As battle between Chris Worrell and Joseph Smith still intense as of now. Those two within a truck length of each other, but we'll see who comes down to pit first and how the undercut's going to play out. There's 29 laps to go at the line here for all of these drivers who have stayed out.
Yeah, I think Berger's going to be the one to watch here. He was the first of that kind of lead pack to come down pit road. So what he does and where he comes out is going to tell us a lot about how this strategy is going to play out. Is he obviously comes back out a lap down because of course you lose a lap pitting on your green at this track.
And nearly a lap and a half back. I didn't expect it to be that much between pitting and staying out, but he will come out in front of Tyler Clunan. Tyler Clunan comes out in front of Randy Cornwell, and it'll be in the order that they came down. I will resume how it was before they came down, I should say. It'll be interesting to see the lap times of a driver like Jeremy Berger now that he's out with fresh tires, and see if he's able to gain a monumental amount of time. Usually with the undercut you're able to with sacrificing a little bit of long run speed, but we'll see if Berger is able to come out in front of the leaders or in front of maybe second place Chris Worrell once pit cycles goes through.
Yeah, so Matthew Wood just did a 32.5. Of course, he's on very old tires here. And just checking here, Jeremy Berger did a 31.5 and also got held up a little bit by Steinbach entering pit road. So a second faster on these fresh tires. Jeremy Berger is the near leader.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. As Matthew Wood hits the wall pretty good. Might cause a little bit of right side damage, but I don't think it'll be too much as the truck looks clean and keeps it going. But yeah, if he keeps doing that, he might pound it a little too hard and give himself some damage. But yeah, Jeremy Berger flying around this racetrack, about a second a lap quicker than your race leader. So we'll see once Matthew Wood decides to come down pit road if he's behind Jeremy Berger, and if so, by how much.
Yeah, Berger just 1.2 seconds faster on that last lap. So that gap is going to be closing. And, of course, the 16 truck, staying out as long as he is, he will have fresher tires at the end of this race. But as we've seen pretty much throughout this race, his track position is pretty important, especially in that lead car. When you're in the clean air, it just gives you such an advantage over the cars behind when it comes just straight up grip really in the corners. So a dangerous game here that Matthew Wood's playing, I think, staying out this much longer than his competitors, but we'll see how it plays out.
Chris Worrell's now going to dive down to pit road, relinquishes his second place, and now this is going to show where Jeremy Berger is at in relation to your race leaders. As Chris Worrell, running P2, was pretty close to Matthew Wood on the field. So we'll see if Berger comes out quite a bit in front of Worrell, see if that strategy is temporarily paid off. And I believe I hear Matthew Wood slowing down. He's going to hit pit road this time.
Yeah, Wood coming down pit road, but crucially Smith staying out. So Smith is going to inherit the race lead here as Matthew Wood comes down pit road to take tires and fuel.
Yeah, that was currently Joseph Smith on lap 33 of his fuel stint. And here we go. It looks like Jeremy Berger is going to clear Chris Worrell coming off of pit road, as Chris Worrell just leaving the box now, or the lane now, I should say. And Berger with about a second and a half up on Worrell. Joseph Smith going to stay out another lap. Matthew Wood stuck on pit lane. Leaves very late. Not sure what happened there. Is already going to get passed by Berger and Worrell. Matthew Wood, very, very slow pit stop this time by.
Yeah, that's unfortunate from the truck who has led every lap up until pit stop started happening. He's going to be almost a straightaway behind these trucks as this fans out. That's big from our race leader here. A big mistake on pit road. As Smith comes to pit road and gives up the lead to Jeremy Berger.
Oh, hold on, not so fast. Cornwell still on the racetrack.
Yeah, you're right.
Although, yeah, Joseph Smith comes down. Carter Cornwell will be your race leader temporarily. First start in the American Thunder Superspeedway Series. It seems like he's going to come down to pit road. Nope, he will not. He's going to stay out here. And we're going to have a lap led from Carter Cornwell. Up a couple seconds still on Jeremy Berger. Yeah, Carter Cornwell will be your race leader temporarily.
Hey, get him any way you can take him.
Absolutely. It's Matthew Wood going to run the fastest lap of the race. Seems like he's about 4 seconds behind what will be race leader in Jeremy Berger. So we'll see how far he's able to pick up on the lap times. And Carter Cornwell will come down pit road this time. Slide the tires a little bit, but we'll get down to pit road safely. Jeremy Berger, Chris Worrell, about a second, a little less, 0.85 between the two of them up front. Matthew Wood 3.5 seconds back, running more and more fastest laps. As Berger 10 laps on his stint, 10 laps on those tires. Matthew Wood just 3.
Yeah, and we're seeing that he's only 3 seconds back, but he is a half a second a lap faster than Jeremy Berger so far. He is throwing down absolute flying laps, just giving it everything to get that lead back. That mistake on pit road is not going to hold him back. He's just out there flying. He is half a second consistently faster than Berger here. This is going to get interesting, I feel.
Yeah, running really good laps in that 16 truck, down under 3 seconds already. Chris Worrell, though, only 1 lap older tires, so obviously I think both of them at the current state of their tires are faster than our race leader in Jeremy Berger, but I think Worrell, with some fresher tires than Berger and only 1 lap older tires than Wood, is going to be able to put up a fight with Matthew Wood if Matthew Wood catches him in the end.
Yeah, crucially, I think Matthew Wood would have been perfectly fine in this race if it wouldn't have been for the mistake on pit road. We didn't exactly see what that was, but a slow pit stop from him nonetheless. Without that, I think he runs away with this, and what we might see is him throwing down those fast laps. We might see a little bit of tire burn off from him. He's going to stop being as fast as he once was when he first put those tires on in relation to Worrell and Berger up there. So he might slow down a little bit as these two up front are able to save a little bit of tire. Of course, on older tires, Worrell only 1 lap older than Wood, though.
I will say, I'm looking at the pit stop times, and I didn't realize this until just now. Worrell was 4.5 seconds quicker in the box than everyone else, as he was in there for 10 seconds. Everyone else was about 14.5 second pit stops. So I believe he only took 2 tires on that race truck.
Yeah, I'll go back and check on that. Of course, I have the ability to do that. So I'll just go down real quick and see if they jack up the left side of that truck. They did not. He took right sides only. So 2 tires for the 06 truck of Chris Worrell. We'll see how that plays out for him here.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to be able to hold off Matthew Wood, the hard-charging truck in the 16 there, down to 1.6 seconds with still 15 laps to go. If this was a 70-lap race and we were sitting at 5 to go, I'd say, well, these guys have a shot. But with the speed that Matthew Wood is at, unless the tires hit a cliff, I think he's going to be able to get to these guys and get around them very swiftly.
Yeah, that last time by, he was 0.3 faster than both Berger and Chris Worrell. Both Berger and Chris Worrell running a 31.8 and Matthew Wood running a 31.5. So still has the tire advantage, and he is still catching them very quickly. He's getting a good run off of this corner. I think he's going to catch even more this lap.
We'll go on board with Matthew Wood to see what he sees here and see if you can see them out in front of his windshield there, and gonna watch him track down these top 2 with just a second between him and race leader Jeremy Berger, and shrinking as those tires having a big effect on the speed on that 16 truck.
Yeah, this is bad for the 21 truck and the 06 truck. They, I think, are just sitting ducks. That last lap, Matthew Wood did a 31.5 in comparison to the 31.9 of Worrell and the 32.0 of Berger. A half a second on that lap.
Yeah, in looking at this onboard, he's here already. Watched him close up on those top 2. And we'll go back to our TV cameras, and yeah, he's there. It's about a truck length, maybe a truck length and a half between Matthew Wood and Chris Worrell. Still 12 laps to go, 11.5 as they go down the backstretch. I think it's going to be tough sledding for these two at the front to hold off Matthew Wood.
Yeah, that time by, once again, half a second faster than the 2 up in front. As he's sending up the inside, going for P2 here. Might get P1 at the line with this run. Look at this drive. from Wood. Not quite at the line, but I mean he's there and he's probably going to be gone.
Yeah, Chris Worrell with a good pass for the lead there on Jeremy Berger, but immediately gets overshined by Matthew Wood being that much quicker than the top two, as he will temporarily here get his nose in front of the 06. Going to try to complete the pass. 06 of Chris Worrell has a bit of a run on the top, but not going to be able to hold it here through 3 and 4. Matthew Wood is going to be your race leader with just 10 laps to go.
Yeah, you can see that drive off the corner that the 16 truck had, and that is purely due to those left side tires that he took. I don't think a lot of people really understand how important that left rear tire is for drive off of the corner. The left rear in these trucks and in really most oval-based race cars are so key to getting the drive off the corner. And with Matthew Wood having those fresh left sides, he was just able to get the power down, and that truck was able to drive off, and he could drag race Worrell back to the line, and he's got the lead. I don't know that anyone has anything for him here with only 8 laps remaining in this race.
Yeah, Wood is going to be able to pull away from the field in a big way here, as Worrell, while pulling away from Jeremy Berger, Worrell does not seem to have any pace for Matthew Wood on the older left side tires, not able to get as much drive off the corner. Jeremy Berger on very old tires, 7 laps older than Wood in the 16, struggling to find some grip, gonna fall back in P3. Joseph Smith in 4th place currently kind of in no man's land, sitting 2.5 seconds behind Jeremy Berger and 2 seconds in front of Chris Lewis, who's running in 5th. And then there's the biggest gap, or one of the biggest gaps on the field. Quentin Steinbach sits all the way back in P6. Looking tough for his playoff chances headed into next week. Matthew Wood a whole 12 seconds in front of him. Not sure if Steinbach, he's going to need a miracle at this point if he wants to advance in the playoffs to next week at Daytona. Tyler Clunan sits a whole 10 seconds behind Steinbach in P7. Close-ish battle between him and Randy Cornwall, just under a second between those two. Cornwall runs 8th. Brian Kenny a little behind those two, going to be your last truck on the lead lap in P9. Carter Cornwall, 1 lap down, is running in 10th.
Yeah, and you can see in that shot of Carter Cornwall, the leaders are catching him. With only 5 laps remaining in this race, we might see a little bit of lap traffic come into play here. Matthew Wood has a big enough gap where I think he can kind of lift off and extend the amount of time it's going to take to reach Cornwell up ahead of him, but something to look out for. Lap traffic plays a role in all races, and like it or not, it's a factor that we have to deal with. So lap traffic may be coming into consideration here late.
Another thing to look out for here, Joseph Smith actually getting quite a big run on Jeremy Berger, making up a ton of time. He pit even later than Matthew Wood, so he has the freshest tires in the field, only 16 laps on his stint compared to 25 on Berger's. So that gap is closing quite quickly as we come back to 4 laps to go. Might be a battle brewing for our 3rd and final podium spot here with just a couple to go.
Yeah, that's big, and of course we saw that. We knew that the tire offset was going to be quite large, but Joseph Smith really played that to its maximum potential as he waited a very long time to come down the pit road. And he is closing on Jeremy Berger, but he might catch him. It's going to be very difficult to pass with only 3 laps remaining in this race, but 4 laps remaining in this race. But definitely coming. Passing, like we said earlier, passing is a more difficult task than just catching. But Joseph Smith looking good in P4 currently.
Smith with the tire advantage, going to try to claim 3rd. It seems at this point in the race, unless there's a caution flag, your 2 finalists are going to be Matthew Wood and Joseph Smith, as we have just 2.5 laps to go. Matthew Wood going down the backstretch, and a battle heating up for 3rd, as Joseph Smith is going to get to the back bumper of Jeremy Berger here. With that tire advantage, he's going to send it up the inside, not quite going to make it stick, as these two bumper to bumper. Now coming off of turn 4, 2 laps to go for our race leader Matthew Wood on Full Throttle Motorsports. Going to get to some more lap traffic, who is up here. Brian Kenny losing a bit of ground, going to be in front of the 16. But battle for second as battle for third, as Joseph Smith goes to the outside of Jeremy Berger, going down the back straight. He's going to go around the outside of the 21 as Matthew Wood comes off of turn 4 to take the white flag.
Yeah, this battle for third is fantastic. Joseph Smith sending it around the outside, which is something very difficult to do, even with those fresh tires. And he's got him cleared, and he's got third place. It'll be interesting to see what Berger does entering turn 1 here. Going to send it up the inside, sends it deep, slides up the racetrack a little bit. They stay clean, a little bit of contact there maybe, and they're drag racing down the back straightaway. Berger, I have to assume, is going to send it very hard up the inside here.
As we're going to zoom off of this for just a second, Matthew Wood's going to come around turn 4 and get another win this season. Matthew Wood, is going to be your race winner at Nashville Superspeedway. Photo finish at the line between Jeremy Berger and Joseph Smith. Jeremy Berger will take third. Chris Worrell will come home with second place here after 80 laps here at Nashville Superspeedway. It's going to be Chris Lewis rounding out your top 5 as well. Heck of a finish there between Jeremy Berger and Joseph Smith. Let's actually go and take a quick replay and watch that finish back as it happened. They're side by side down the back straightaway. Bit of contact between the 21 and 31 as they went into the final corner. Berger was able to slide all the way up in front, pulls a bit of a slide job there going through turn 3 and 4. Certainly taking some inspiration from his dirt racing experience as Joseph Smith pulls back with a crossover, does not quite get back to him.
Yeah, that just wasn't able to really get the truck turned down to the inside, it looked like. Of course, when you get slid across like that, a slide job, something that all dirt fans are familiar with, if you're the truck that is getting slid, you really have to get their nose pointed back down to the bottom of the corner to cut back under the other truck and then get the power down and just exit the corner as straight as possible. And Smith just not quite able to do that and doesn't get the run that he needs to get back by Berger at the line. So a fantastic race for third, and that was a fantastic battle between the two of them. And a great job of Berger holding off a truck that had, I think, close to 15 laps fresher tires than him.
Yeah, about 10 laps fresher tires on that Smith machine. Jeremy Berger able to do a masterclass in defense. Let's take a look at your race results here at Nashville. Matthew Wood takes home the victory once again this season. And yeah, just heck of a performance by Matthew Wood. He's going to be our second truck in the next round, the final round next week at Daytona International Speedway. He will be fighting for a championship. Chris Worrell will come home P2. A pretty quiet finish for the 06 compared to the battle that was going on right behind him. Jeremy Berger holds off Joseph Smith by .013. Joseph Smith will come home in fourth. He will be your other championship contender. So good to see him racing so hard for position, even though he's already locked into the next round. Chris Lewis will come home in fifth. Quentin Steinbach not getting the night he needed to get into the next round, but a good result regardless, will come home in sixth. Tyler Clunan wraps off a nice run in P7. Randy Cornwell gets an eighth place, going to be your last truck on the lead lap. Brian Kenny in ninth, and Carter Cornwell will round out your top 10.
So outside of your top 10, we see some trucks that hit a little bit of unfortunate luck there at the beginning of this race. We have the 9 truck of Jace LaForte and the 3 truck of Tim Averill, who were taken out in the same incident. The two of them getting tangled will finish 56 and 57 laps down, respectively. Then behind them in P13 is the 53 of Bryson Bird, who only completed 12 laps. And then, of course, not completing a lap here tonight was the 14 truck of Jesse Meyer in P14.
Heck of a race we saw tonight. Lots and lots of green flag racing. Matthew Wood taking home the victory tonight in a heck of a battle for third place. Let's not waste any time here and get your top 3 interviews up in the booth. as everyone is already ready, wanting their interviews. So, first off, we'll drag Matthew Wood into the booth. Matthew, this is Josh in the Ignite booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha, buddy.
Well, congratulations once again getting the victory here tonight at Nashville. Yeah, I mean, really a dominant performance for you tonight. I guess the only biggest question I've got for you is going on that strategy, staying out a little longer than a couple of those trucks behind you. Was there any worry that you weren't going to be able to get a run and be able to get past them at the closing stages?
Not particularly. I was more worried, um, about Chris than anything because I knew Jeremy had pit way too early. But Chris had only pitted a few laps before us, and I thought he had had a very, very good pit entry, and they'd taken four and had just straight up beat us. But I started running him down. I think I ran him down like 3 to 4 tenths a lap. Um, I don't know what happened to Joe on pit road. I think whether he made a mistake or what, but he had dropped pretty far back. I just wasn't able to utilize those new tires. So it's unfortunate for Joe, but he moves on. I move on. It's going to be me and him next week at Daytona for Full Throttle. So no matter what, a Full Throttle championship. So I think we've all but locked down the team championship as well. So very productive night for us. Of course, sucks that Jace kind of got taken out there, but um, Quentin ended up finishing. So like I said, a very productive night for us. Sucks that Nick couldn't be here, but again, had a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, great performance there. And looking into next week, we head to Daytona for the finale here. It's going to be you and Joseph. What's your strategy there facing a teammate?
Um, just run them with the same respect that I think we've all ran all season. Just try to do what I can on a super speedway to have the luck go my way, and just maybe try to stay up front a little bit more than I would. But I don't know. Being at a super speedway for a championship is definitely an interesting one. I think it could go either way, no matter what the talent is, and I think me and Joseph are very even on talent, so it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, that it will be. We'll be excited to watch the two of you go to war in just 1 week's time. Before we let you go, is there any sponsors, family, friends you'd like to thank?
I got to thank Full Throttle Motorsports and everybody over there. Of course, I got to thank you and anybody who supports the broadcast. Um, and wonderful, wonderful stuff we have going on there. Cordero barbecue sauce. Um, Again, we'll go into next week, and hopefully, I can get myself a championship. But it's going to be a little bit easier said than done, I think.
Absolutely. Well, wish you the best of luck, and we'll see you back in the booth most likely in just 1 week's time. So, yeah, good luck on your championship endeavors, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, God bless everybody. Thank you.
And that was Matthew Wood. We appreciate him taking the time to join to chat with us for a little bit about his race. And congratulations again to the 16 on the race win here tonight. Second place is going to be Chris Worrell, and we will bring him up to the booth.
What's
Hey,
up,
Chris,
man?
you got us up in the booth?
Hey, how you doing, Tyler?
Doing great. We saw a great run from you here today. Didn't quite have enough for the 16 truck. We saw that you took two tires on that last pit stop, so a little bit of a strategy play for you. What were you thinking there, taking those two tires, and was it kind of just a Hail Mary to see if you could get something to stick, or what exactly was your thought process strategy-wise on that last pit stop?
Just track position. I was hoping to get in front of Matthew there. That way, I figured he'd be faster and run me down, but he ran me down right at the right time when I was trying to make the pass on P1. I tried to slow it down and give him some dirty air, slow him up, but it didn't matter. He had such a tire advantage, I couldn't do anything with him. So, yeah, just trying to get in front of him, and if I would have got out in front of Jeremy, I might have had a better shot at it being a lot closer than it was, but I think four tires was the call. Probably should have just stuck with four.
Yeah, you say that, but I think the two tires really worked out for you well here. You got to P2. You you were fighting for that position all night without the strategy, so you had a good amount of speed here tonight, but a good second place finish here. Um, we kind of see you out there on your own. You were battling a lot with the Full Throttle Motorsports guys. Um, is there anything to racing around people that are working together or that are on the same team? And then also, is there anything to racing around guys that are currently fighting for the playoffs as all of those guys up front were?
Yeah, I just was listening to the broadcast a second ago. I didn't realize that this was the last race before the championship, but I mean, I just went in hoping not to run into anybody, cause any problems, and no, those guys, they could have easily tried to hold me up in some way, but they didn't. The dirty air did good enough job for everybody there. As you can tell, it's kind of like a straight line for most everybody. You had to really take your time and try to save tire and get in there in the turn before other people to make ground up. So, yeah, it was I mean, it's really clean. Only one caution. But yeah, just with not a full fuel tank, and then that dirty air. It's like a one lane track for these trucks. They're so slow, so it's just hard to make up ground. I got right behind Jeremy and was doing the best I could to pass him real quick, but it's like I'd get close enough, and then that dirty air would just throw me back, and I just had to start diving it in really early. And then by the time I smartened up, he was there. But yeah, it was a fun race. Congrats to Matt. Wish him luck in the championship race next week. He should be fun to race in the future.
All right, man. Well, congratulations on the P2 finish. We really enjoyed seeing you out there fighting for that spot. Is there anybody you'd like to thank that maybe helped you get to this P2 run today?
Just everybody running clean. I think, like I said, there's only one accident. There's last couple races that I've run in, but it was really clean tonight. So I mean, just good job on everybody's part. So thanks to the league and you guys for putting on the broadcast.
All right, man. Thanks, and once again, congratulations on the P2 finish, and thanks for joining us up in the booth.
Thanks, guys.
That was Chris Worrell. Appreciate him taking the time to talk to us once again. A great run from him tonight, and almost came home with the victory, but those two tires not able to hold up how he would have wanted. But Jeremy Berger, going to be your third place finisher. We'll bring him up to the booth. Jeremy, this is Josh in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, you had a heck of a run tonight. Really put on a show, especially in the closing laps there, holding off Joseph Smith. I believe there was a 9 or 10 lap tire difference between the two of you. How were you able to hold him off there in the closing laps?
A thought and a prayer, really. I don't know what it was with me in this track, but I feel like I was doing honestly terrible the whole night. And I just figured I'll pit way earlier than everybody and just see what happens. And I just figured if I pit early, I can kind of go hard and gain time, and I might be all right. I think he messed up in the pits or something anyway, so I probably got lucky there. But all in all, I'll take a podium no matter how I can get it.
Absolutely, yeah. Great run. I mean, you were up front, led some laps tonight. But it was there once you came out of the pits on those very old tires. Was there any thought that you could hold everyone off to keep the win, or was there anything more you could do to stay up in front?
Unfortunately, probably not. I don't think I did a good job of saving my tires. Is what it was, and I feel like I couldn't get off the corner or get in the corner good. So I was just cooked no matter what. But it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, yeah, I had a heck of a run regardless, and come home with a podium tonight and the slimmest of margins over Joseph Smith. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank, sponsors, family, friends, anyone who helped you get here to this P3 tonight?
You guys for broadcasting, Chris Lewis for putting the league up, Randy with his barbecue sauce, and that's about it.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations once again on your P3 finish tonight, and hope to see you back here in just 1 week's time.
Cool. Sounds good. Have a good one, guys.
All right, you do the same. That was Jeremy Berger up in the booth. Appreciate him taking the time as we do all of these drivers for talking to us and taking the time to chat in the booth. I was told from league owner Chris Lewis that we had to do an interview with one more special guest as a part of our contract tonight. Let me drag him up into the booth and see if he's willing to talk to us. Hey Carter, this is Josh in the booth. You got a copy, buddy? Hello? Carter, you got a copy? All right, well, it seems like he's having some microphone issues, unfortunately. We're told to give him an interview. He having his first ever American Thunder Superspeedway Series start.
Led some laps.
Led a little bit of this race. Not sure if he got an official lap lead or lap led, but was up front and yeah, good run from the 22 truck here tonight. And speaking of Cornwell specifically, I feel like we did not have very many Cornwell barbecue sauce restart zone attempts here. So I want to give a shout out to Cornwell Barbecue Sauce, the premier sponsor of the American Thunder Super Speedway Series, making this happen week in, week out. We appreciate everything they do. I actually just ordered a bottle of Cornwell Barbecue Sauce. Customer service was fantastic. And looking forward to having that and trying it out. So next to come 1 week's time, I'll be able to have a real honest opinion of how good, how sweet it tastes. So looking forward to that. But yeah, really appreciative of everything that Cornwell Barbecue Sauce does for us, for the American Thunder Super Speedway Series, and for iRacing in general. We appreciate them being a part of every broadcast and every race here in the American Thunder Super Speedway Series, and are appreciative of their sponsorship of the league. Well, we had a heck of a race here at Nashville Super Speedway here in the American Thunder Super Speedway Series. In 1 week's time, we will head to Daytona International Speedway to crown a champion. It's going to be Joseph Smith in the 31, the number 5 seed here entering the playoffs, going up against the number 16, the 2 seed of Matthew Wood. In a week's time at Daytona, Joseph Smith did lose out last season, was in that playoff finale. He took on Chris Lewis. Chris Lewis got the best of him there, looking to redeem himself just one season later, gets back into the final round, and will have another shot at it in a week's time at Daytona. What are you looking forward to that week? You got any closing thoughts for tonight?
Yeah, really, just a fantastic race. We kind of called it a little bit early in the race that with the smaller field and the way that trucks can get spread out here, that we might have a little bit more green flag running. But I truly was not anticipating as much green flag running as we had. We had one caution here tonight, and just really an unfortunate circumstance for that caution. But really great, clean racing here. And then, of course, that fantastic finish for P3 where Jeremy Berger just edged out Joseph Smith, holding him off with old tires. That was fantastic to watch. And Daytona next week, a playoff finale, 2 trucks going head-to-head against each other around a super speedway like Daytona where anything can happen. I'm sure everyone's going to be on the edge of their seat for that. So super excited to see what this series continues to bring to us, and really just a great race tonight once again. I think the past 2 races have been some of my favorite that we've done with this series, and hope that continues to a third and a great championship finale next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, we were about to end the broadcast, but I just got word that we have a couple more interviews that we can do here. I believe we will get Carter Cornwell on the horn here. See if we can drag up Randy Cornwell. He said he can talk on his mic. Randy slash Carter Cornwell, you're in the booth now. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Well, which am I talking to? Am I talking to Carter?
Yes.
All right, Carter. Well, welcome to the booth. Tonight was your first American Thunder Superspeedway Series start. What was it like being out there? And actually, you got up to the lead for a little bit there, so heck of a run from you. What was it like going up there and leading laps?
I was just happy to get the experience and make some laps out here. I'm grateful for the opportunity by Chris Lewis.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, yeah, it was fun watching you out there, being able to join these guys on the racetrack. And yeah, I'm sure as you're able to run some more races with these guys, you'll be able to get some more experience racing around them and fight forward towards the front of the field. Did you enjoy your time out here tonight?
Yes, sir, I did.
Awesome, man. Yeah, we appreciate you coming up and taking the time to chat with us for a little bit. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank for your run tonight and for getting you out here?
I'd like to thank iRacing, Cornwall Barbecue, and you guys broadcasting.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to come chat with us, and congratulations on a great run here tonight. We look forward to seeing you more in future races here with the American Thunder Superspeedway Series.
Thank you.
All right, that was Carter Cornwell. His first start was tonight. We appreciate him taking the time to talk to us. And one more interview before we go. Jace Lafort is going to join us here in the booth. Full Throttle Motorsports has fully locked up the team championship. Jace Lafort is the owner of Full Throttle Motorsports, so we'll have him in for an interview. Jace, this is Josh up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, congratulations. Unfortunately, not the night you wanted to have here at Nashville, but a great night for your team as you lock up a team championship once again here in the American Thunder Superspeedway Series. What does it mean for you and Full Throttle Motorsports to get this one?
It means a ton. I think it's a huge testament to, how incredible these guys are and, how much teamwork is, teamwork makes the dream work for sure. Signing Matthew Wood this season has been absolutely pivotal for the success. Getting 4 wins in his debut season is insane. With Joseph Smith there every single race, Nick Wheeler being an incredible feature, Quentin Steinbach, Bryson Bird, all these guys that are part of this Full Throttle team, and even guys that are, not driving but are still part of the Full Throttle program. These guys are just incredible, and, it shows a testament of how loyal and how incredible this team is and putting in the work week in and week out to get a guaranteed drivers championship coming into this week was pretty sick. It was pretty cool, practicing with each other, knowing that this was going to be the battle for the championship. And then, we needed to gain 13 points on TI to get the team championship, and with the win from Matthew, I locked it down. So just super proud of these guys. Couldn't be prouder as a team owner.
For sure. I think the story throughout the season here is how much you guys in Full Throttle Motorsports have just dominated this season. And I know one season ago, Joseph Smith was not able to lock up the championship, has another shot at it in 1 week's time. You got any insight on his mindset and how he's going to approach this one to try to avenge himself from one season ago?
Well, if it was anything like he approached this one, Matthew's in trouble. Bro didn't even show up to the team Discord. He was just locked in by himself, and I mean, he went out and got things done. It was solid at fourth place finish. So if it's anything like this week, Matthew's got some trouble, especially getting his vengeance from last season. So it'll be interesting to see how those two play it out.
Absolutely, and Daytona in 1 week is another big team track there. A lot of teamwork required to finish well. You think those two are going to work together, or kind of try to play their own strategies here?
We should be able to work together pretty good, but when it comes down to the last 10 laps, you'll be sure to get a show.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to watching that. I want to give you a congratulations on getting that team championship as a team owner there. And, yeah, we look forward to seeing you and Full Throttle Motorsports in 1 week's time at Daytona.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Josh. Appreciate your time.
All right, yeah, thanks for coming up and taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
That was Jace LaForte, team owner of the team champions, Full Throttle Motorsports. Sorry to kind of yap over you there, Tyler, but I just wanted to get those interviews. Obviously, people love to talk on the broadcast, and we love to have them. So,
Yeah, no, you're all good. That was fantastic. You know, two good extra additions that we typically don't get at the end of these broadcasts. It's always great to talk to these competitors and just get a little bit more of a view into what's going on throughout the field. So great interviews there, and it's okay that you talked over me a bit.
Absolutely. 1 week's time, we're going to head to Daytona International Speedway for the final race of Season 3 of the American Thunder Superspeedway Series. Not entirely sure what the next season, Season 4 plans are. I'm sure they're going to be coming back in full force for Season 4, but right now focused on the championship between Joseph Smith and Matthew Wood. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this race and watch us yap about it here on the broadcast, here on the Ignite Sim Racing Network. My name is Josh Patterson. I'm joined by Tyler Ryan here for the American Thunder Super Speedway Series. And we will see you all in 1 week's time at the Daytona International Speedway. Thanks for joining us tonight. We hope you have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you in 1 week's time.